Welcome, everyone, and thanks for tuning your internet dials to Squawking Dead. Before I kick off the show, I wanted to give a shout out to Carol's husband.
Thanks, honey.
Who gave us some cool design ideas, and we've redesigned our profile images and banners to reflect that. I think it's cool, your girlfriend thinks it's cool, and even your mom thinks it's cool. So why do you not think it's cool? Let us know at squawkingdeadpodcast@gmail.com. I also have some terrific news. Apple has graced and embraced us by approving our podcast on iTunes. Isn't that amazing?
So exciting.
Just search for Squawking Dead, subscribe to the show, and you'll automatically receive new episodes and content as soon as they're posted. Meanwhile, our heads have been spinning these past few Squawking Dead episodes. The Walking Dead has been nothing short of a roller coaster. Fast, furious, and filled with sudden rises and falls. Overall, our beloved teams have been gaining ground. It should be no surprise that The Walking Dead would eventually bring about a reckoning.
Yes.
In the last episode, we were left with Rick and Daryl racing off to Gavin's heavy artillery storehouse, and Jesus and friends dropping off the saviors at Mama Maggie's hilltop. Most importantly, and after doing so well initially, the kingdom.
Dun,
The
dun,
kingdom.
dun.
Yeah, gunned down so suddenly after a string of wins. It was a shock and blow to us all. And this episode left nothing to the imagination.
No,
It was way worse than we thought.
Yeah.
Well, as always, Carol, will you one day show me how to start a show?
Oh, God, where do I even start? I mean, I know that I've said a lot the last time about how I've been waiting for that Negan backstory episode, but this is kind of more along the lines of the episode I was waiting for. I think that this is, so far, the best episode of the season, I feel. I mean, granted, we're only 4 episodes in, but I feel it's probably one of the better episodes that they've had in a while, just because I like the very centralized focus. I like whenever we get some backstory on a character and we kind of give them more backdrop, and we kind of give they become less of a caricature and more of a multi-dimensional character. And it's nice with Ezekiel, we've got more of that rather than just kind of like this bravado. Unfortunately, we got that by basically breaking him down to his last shred of confidence is completely gone. But I think it was a really, really great episode. I thought it was really interesting and it was really compelling. That opening, I mean, the graphic nature of it, I mean, it's actually funny because I've been listening to and reading what a lot of other people have been saying, and a lot of people have been complaining this season that they felt that since it's all out war, it was expected that there was going to be a lot of action, a lot of battles. A lot of people felt that the portrayal of the violence so far has been a little perhaps non-believable, or a little kind of like more actiony rather than like war. This really? Episode to me, yeah. I mean, I never thought of it that way, but I guess I could see where they're coming from, that it was more kind of like action movie, kind of more action movie, less wartime movie. This episode was
less
more
zombie horror.
Right. This definitely felt very much like, I mean, a Saving Private Ryan kind of like all of these soldiers like basically completely gunned down. And I think it also kind of showed the magnitude of, I mean, for lack of a better word, weapons of mass destruction, and just basically the magnitude of the effect of those weapons taking out basically Ezekiel's entire army. So I think it was really good to show kind of like the gravity and severity of the kind of weapons that they have and what they're capable of. So I think that really resonated. I don't even know what to say about Shiva. I like shed tears for a non-existent CGI cat.
Putting it all on the table, Carol. Just get it all out.
It's just all out. I mean, I can't even watch that scene again. It's like it just breaks my heart. But I think overall I really like this episode for sure.
And that's the show, folks. See you next week.
That's my first impression. That's my first impression.
That's the first impression. This show's gonna be like 2 hours long. No kidding.
I know. I didn't even get to Rick and Daryl. That was a fun little scene.
Yeah, that fun. Exactly. The fact that it was little it's why it's like, okay, we might as well not. It doesn't matter. That scene was it's a few minutes long.
Yeah, it was a fun little scene, basically.
But tell me more about Ezekiel. Yeah, exactly. So. Right. I mean, notice how this was a very Ezekiel-centric episode, less a kingdom episode, more Ezekiel.
Yes, it was one of those like kind of character study episodes.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned how we got to see like a more introspective episode, even with some of the action that was going on. What's cool about that is, okay, rewind. What I like about what you mentioned was, even though we were kind of sick of that stuff in the last season, or the last maybe 2 seasons, let's just say, it's interesting that you say that after having like 3 episodes full of action, right?
Yeah, I
And,
think
and
it's
so it's almost
needed.
as if we miss it. This is the stuff. This is why we miss this part of the show. This is what makes The Walking Dead, is some of these longer, more introspective, character-driven
Yes.
episodes.
Yes,
So
I think I think it's necessary. I don't think that we necessarily have to overdo it, but I think that intermixed in this action to kind of get a moment to basically kind of understand the humanity of a character and at their core what they're about. I think it's interesting.
right. And to mix in all the action with that
Yes.
is a good formula. Like, whereas the last season or 2, it wasn't a lot of action. It was a lot more tension, but it was like quiet tension with drawn out dialogue-less episodes and stuff like that. So
Right.
so
It
it's
kind of
interesting to get that with an action episode, with a tension, action, and character expose, let's just say.
Yes. It was just a very plotting pace before. I think that they kind of skewed towards a lot of the kind of character study episodes last season after the big, Glenn Abraham murder. And then it just became very plotting, just very kind of, okay, that's all right. When are we going to do something? Whereas this season was the total opposite, where we have all this action going on. And now there certainly was action in this episode too, but I think it was kind of nicely married with this sort of character study at the same time. So I think it worked. I think they did a good job.
Yeah, it was a perfect mix. I mean, we were on high tension for the
Yes.
last 3 episodes, which I think was making you dizzy a little bit. I mean, in a good way, but yeah, I don't know how many more episodes you would have been able to handle this.
No. And I think Kirkman said, or Scott M. Gimple said, that the first 4 were going to be like that. And then we were going to have to kind of, now take a bit of a step back. So, I mean, I know that they said that, but I mean, the first few episodes have been intense, just kind of, and we talked about this before. It's like they basically continued where the previous one left off. So it's just been this kind of continuous boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and that's how they shot it too.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. Apparently. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I might as well get this
appreciate
out of the
this.
way. I might as well get this completely out of the way, because I kind of want to just throw it out there so that we don't have to talk about it again. But it looks like you were wrong about something.
Oh yes, about the walker from the last episode.
No, not that.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay,
What was
but
it?
I think I want to have you keep picking things.
Oh, okay.
Not wrong.
Okay.
That, but also something else. No, I'm kidding. You will get your Negan episode next.
I did see that. I did see a clip about that.
Rather than waiting. Yep. So aren't you excited?
I am excited. I'm curious because this is the thing. What they did with Ezekiel this week is what I would like them to do to Negan. I want to get some dimension to the person. And I think that makes them a more compelling character. To know the different aspects of them, so they're not just basically, he's a king or he's a villain. It's like, okay, well,
a dictator.
Yeah. It's like, well, what else is there? Like, I mean, why? Why is he there? Why? I want to know. How did we get here? And make him interesting. And I think that, a lot of the people that have complaints about the Negan character are usually that they find him to be a little cartoonish, a little caricaturish. And I feel last season, a lot of the moments that I liked with Negan, to be honest, were more on these one-on-one sort of scenes when it's just him and another character communicating, and you see a little bit more of the different kind of sides or dimensions to him, like the episode where he was with Carl, even his discussions with Sasha. Negan.
Yeah,
like,
Negan
I mean,
with Rick also.
Well, I feel like when he spoke to Rick, it was still very much like trying to kind of, dictate over him. But I feel like when he was talking to Carl, you see like a different side where he almost has a sort of kind of soft spot in a way for this kid. And even when he's talking to Sasha, before she kills herself, also because he could have killed either one of them, hands down, easily, but He doesn't. And so I find that when they have the Negan character talking one-on-one to certain characters, you kind of start to see, okay, well, this guy's not just a crazy murderer. There's more to him than that. and you kind of get a feel for more of that. Whereas I feel that when he's in this public stage and he's at Alexandria or wherever, and he's surrounded by all his lackeys, it's a lot of posturing, and sometimes it can be like, okay, all right, already, we get it, yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the Negan Father Gabriel episode, but I might be setting myself up for failure. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah,
we don't know what's going to happen, so I'm hopeful, but we'll see.
Well, you and me are both on the side of the possibility of Negan and Father Gabriel being in the trailer at the same time could be the opportunity for confessions and things like that.
Yes.
So it's interesting, but you never know what's going to happen because of the many sides of Negan, right?
Right.
So I don't know.
I don't know, but I am very curious to see, and I am hopeful. I'm open, but I'm trying not to make any assumptions.
Yeah, that's what makes this episode a lot more of a cool down episode. It's a little less action, some tension, more character expose, and then it leaves us open for a really good transition to whatever's going on in the trailer. This maybe quiet one-on-one dark room scene. No light, it seems.
Right. Doesn't seem like it, no.
So, yeah, perfect mood. And not only that, after this character dive into Ezekiel, and we're making this assumption, but going into a possible Negan backstory, it's just a perfect kind of transition, and maybe even a way to show the similarities between Ezekiel and Negan in some sort of fluid crossfade kind of way.
It could be. It could give an opportunity to kind of to basically show how perhaps he doesn't come from a background so different from, whether it's Ezekiel or Rick. He just basically skewed this way for whatever reason. But, it would be interesting to see if they do go that route to kind of show, hey, he's not all that different from these other characters.
Even Father Gabriel, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe even Father Gabriel.
The two people that you wouldn't think would be the same could be quite the same. You never know. know.
And a trailer
and we could do a whole episode on that.
Oh, yes.
Which would probably be the next episode. Yeah.
I was going to say, that'll probably be next week. Good call. Yep.
Think alike.
Exactly.
So let's get to the actual episode. I think let's just start from the beginning, because I love the mood of Ezekiel in his grandiose old theater opera house looking studio makeup counter with the bowl of water and washing his face and rolling his dreads and shaving his chin.
It was interesting because at first I wasn't sure watching it where he was at first. I wasn't, or time wise, I wasn't sure if this was present day or if this was in the past, like at first, because they never really showed his quarters, let's say. Right. So it isn't until then you see him get dressed that you realize, okay, he's at the kingdom and this is where he stays. But yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and this is his everyday.
Yes.
So, every day getting up, putting on his costume, let's just say.
Yes.
Just a very interesting way of looking at how he gets up in the morning, what he has to become, right? And I know we're going to talk about that soon, but
yes.
But yeah, it's the only, there's nothing really to tear apart in that one scene. I think what I thought was very interesting, obviously we get the speech, but right after this moving speech where he says, "We are one," and everybody's coming in and to the center where Ezekiel's at and embracing, you go directly into this scene with him being buried under these bodies, these same kingdom bodies.
Yeah,
and it was just a good, well plotted out shot, and such a good transition. This extreme high, and then all of a sudden we're being gravity dropped.
It was very, I think it was very well shot. It was very effectively shot because it was a very, very strong way of kind of showing, like you said, this point where they were just united and they had this hope and inspiration and this is what we're going to do. And then the reality of it being a complete tragic disaster and just basically being, covered by the bodies of his soldiers, of the people from his kingdom. And as I said before, it's like, I think it really was well done to display how, obviously it's very graphic, the way they have it shown, but I think it was well done to basically show how dangerous these weapons are that they have, beyond like the shotguns and the machine guns that you see. Like, you see the firefight with Aaron and the Saviors before, where it's just like infinite rounds of ammo just going back and forth.
Seen out of Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, just never ending ammo. And, some people get shot and whatever. But this really showed like, no, these are very, very serious weapons that can really, I mean, basically decimated an entire army. It's exactly what they did. So I think it was very, very effective, and it was very rough.
Yeah,
that was
and after that, it was like we are one, and then you see the pile of bodies, and then you look around, and there are body parts, and I'm like, we are not one. There's a piece of me there. There's a piece of me over there. There's, oh man, my insides are over there, and I'm over here. So I thought that was a little
that was
funny after rewatching it again. So a little humor.
Yeah, that was
and all the gruesomeness.
That's good.
That's good.
That's like
I like your humor.
that was
Tell
like
me
my
more.
humor. That was like me finding Morales' murder humorous last time. I was like, yeah, it was kind of funny. I knew Daryl was gonna pop out of somewhere. And it's like, boom, there you go.
Here I am. But it's like pop goes the Daryl.
Exactly.
Back in the box.
And I was like, see, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Oh yeah, and so directly after that, it does cut to the scene with the bodies in this pile, and you see the parts on the floor, and you don't really see Ezekiel come out, but then he comes out all of a sudden from out of the bodies, and what I noticed was it was as if he was birthed from this amniotic sack of bodies, and he's like crawling around on the floor. He's very confused. He's frightened. He cries out, not like a baby, because he's a real man. And I just thought the similarities, like what the connotations are with that, it was just kind of interesting. Like the birth of real Ezekiel. Like
exactly. I mean, I think it's a very interesting analogy because it is. This is where the whole your majesty and all of that. I mean, that all gets tossed out the window. This is Ezekiel in this situation, basically taking in all the people that we understand that his leg is wounded, and he starts coming to the realization that these men who were once on his side are going to start turning and reanimating as walkers, and you start to notice that. I think the first one that does is the one that's missing the arm, that we see an arm, and I think it might be that same walker is one of the first ones to turn, and oh boy, yikes. That is not a good place to be.
Yeah, and it's like something we said the other week, how we would react in similar situations. I don't even think we'd probably be worse than how Ezekiel reacted, but I'm sure like people were like, get up, you idiot, like move. Like I know he's injured. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I can see a lot of people saying that, like, what the hell's wrong with you? And so
I think people need to stop with that, because here's the thing. I'm the first one to say that, and I'm the first one to say, like, some people have all these aspirations of like, oh, I should do this or you should do this. It's like, look, I'm the first one to say, if something like that happened and I'm in like a certain position, I might just be like, screw this isn't happening. I'm just gonna slit my wrist and like do it myself, because this is just not.
My wife. What the hell's wrong with you two? It's like, I'll try to take care of you.
Listen, quick side tangent. I had a friend years ago who I worked with, and during the time that the plane landed in the Hudson, the Miracle on the Hudson, so we were in obviously New York, and I'm telling her, hey, did you hear about this? And we're watching it on the news, and it's amazing. Everybody survived and whatever. And she was already afraid of flying, and she was like, listen, she's like, if I was on the plane, the minute they say brace for impact, she's like, I would have slit my wrist right there. She's like, I wouldn't even have bothered. I was like, well, and you see, you would have been wrong. So that's probably not the best.
You would have been the one fatality out of all the people that actually got saved. There was one fatality.
The one fatality.
But it's funny that you say that, because it does bring up an interesting parallel, like the other side of the coin. Like, though we may not be able to react quite as well as Ezekiel in that situation, as much to our name calling of Ezekiel at the time, like, oh, the werewolf is behind you, that kind of feeling. The other side of the coin is, I don't think you would do that. I think when faced with the proposition of something else taking your life, there's a natural fight or flight thing that kicks in.
Agreed.
But I think when you realize that this could be over, it really does kick you into gear. Like, wait a minute, I don't think I would do that. I don't think I would do that. I don't think I want it to be over. I want to stay till the end credits. I want to see if there's a stinger at the end of this movie, or maybe there's after the credits. There's some cool thing. So
and I do agree. No, it's true. I think it depends on your method of survival too, because I remember hearing somebody, and they made a very good point, and they said that and it was a very good point. They said that a lot of people watch the show and think of themselves that they would be like Daryl, but really they'd be like Eugene. Like you'd be Eugene. Like, I'm sorry, it's like in your mind you think you'll be Daryl. No, you're not going to be Daryl. You'll be
that
Eugene.
was shooting really high too. Like
like really high. Like like or
Aaron.
I mean?
Yeah, like exactly.
Or
you know
Glenn.
what? Shoot high. Go for Erik. You know, like okay, be honest with yourself. Daryl, are you serious?
It's just like, no, dude, no, stop. Stop right there. No, exactly. But that's the thing. I think people watch the show and are like, no, so what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, come on, let's be realistic here. The reality is,
I mean, come on.
God, you're man. You're love.
I'm a Gregory. Okay, fine. If I'm lucky, I'm a Gregory. Let's put it that way.
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh, one more comment on that though. If you wash your hands every time you go to the bathroom, either or, you're not a Daryl. That's all I can say about that. You're just not Daryl.
Yeah, so. Daryl is definitely a little grimy.
Yeah, exactly. Grimy. Even though according to
Talking Dead, he's one of the cleanest. Yeah, he's
like one of the best smelling people. Yeah.
Yes, it's deceiving. It is. Hey, you never know. You never know.
Exactly. It's like opening up a candy and just popping in your mouth. Like you never know what it's going to actually taste like until. Okay, why did I go there? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But I don't want to take this line of thought further.
we're gonna stop right there.
Put Daryl in my mouth. Anyway, so what's cool about seeing Ezekiel flee and even getting having the Gunther. By the way, his name is Gunther, the scrawny savior.
I call him Chester the Molester because
I called him Scrawny Savior, but that yours is way better. Pete the pedo.
This guy was gross, dude. Like the glasses, and I know that they were going for like a really detestable character. Like obviously, like they were trying to make him somebody that you just just awful, But I mean, I guess they were effective. They were effective in that respect.
Really good teeth, though. By the way, why is it that post-apocalyptic people have like the best teeth? I don't get it.
Yeah, right. You would think that wouldn't be the case, right?
Yeah,
well, they have a lot at the sanctuary, so who knows?
Yeah, good dental plan at the sanctuary.
Good dental plan at the sanctuary.
Yeah, but I guess so. But you see Ezekiel really, he's not really necessarily giving up. Like even though he's crawling away, he's in shock. I mean, he's in shock. Let's just give him that. But there's moments where he lays down and refuses to move.
Yeah,
he tries to take his cane back. So throughout the episode, you're thinking to yourself, "Oh man, what's happening to him? Like what he's? I mean, he hasn't really necessarily. You don't really see him kind of give up till near the end, and not even give up. It's like this remorse over swindling these people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he does try to hold on to it.
He does
a little bit, until he finally lets go. So, and these are the things that are going on in your mind. I mean, it's probably going on through other people's minds. It's kind of like, come on, man, it's not that bad. And it's bad, but still, don't give up. And it's funny because it's not only the audience that's saying that. You were saying it too when you were first watching it, but the kingdom themselves. I mean, like Jerry, the guy that initially picks him up, Alvaro, I think.
Alvaro
picks him up, and they're telling him, dude, stop it. We needed you. We still believe.
They still believe in
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's we're all trying to tell him that, but it's just hard. It's just really hard because it just tells you a lot about Ezekiel's character, how invested he really is. Like whereas Negan probably couldn't give a damn, maybe.
Right.
He'd probably shoot his own.
Yeah, if he loses. And I think that they even did that too. The saviors, didn't they? In the Carol part.
Oh yeah.
Carol had a savior, with a knife to his neck. That was his name. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, didn't they say like, oh, light him up? Like no hesitation. Like there's no loyalty within the saviors themselves. It's just basically whatever. If we have to sacrifice one of our own, so be it. There's no looking out for each other whatsoever.
Right. And Negan himself probably wouldn't hesitate also. It's just the fact. So wow. We're kind of drawing some really good parallels between the two already.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good material.
I love
good material here.
It's good that we're two co-hosts in the show. It's good that we're having a conversation. I do like for some reason, I do love the blood anointment that Ezekiel gets. There's something about it that, I mean, obviously I don't like Gunther, but I thought it was
interesting.
Yeah, right.
What do you think was the point in that?
I'm making you a king. Gunther's making, here, you want to be a king? You're a king. And he just humiliates him, but like in a kind of poetic way.
In a belittling. He did kind of, because a lot of the smack basically that he was talking to him was even, I remember like the one part where he was saying, it's like, look, like even in death, these guys are still following you. And that was kind of, that was a heavy statement,
Oh, and the parallel to that is the whole, does Negan even know your name? And then he responds quickly, I'm Negan.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Which kind of circles back to what Negan had done to be almost this cult-like leader status to them.
Yeah.
This Dahmer, well, he looks like Dahmer. Gunther looks like Dahmer.
He looks like Dahmer.
But this kind of cult leader status that Negan has, that knowing full well that Negan wouldn't know his name whatsoever, still kind of doesn't hesitate.
Yeah, it's very, and this is why I say that I need to understand more, because how do people get to this point? How? That's what I want to understand.
Well, think about it though. People do that now. We live in a time of relative peace. Yeah, there's some hardship. I mean, a lot of people have hardship, but even in the worst of hardships now, we're not nearly on the level of people that lived in the Dust Bowl. I mean, let's really think about that. Poverty now is not the same as poverty then.
Yeah, I still can't wrap my head around it though. I mean, I know it exists and I know it happens, but it's just amazing to me. It's like, how does this happen? How are we here? How is this Jeffrey Dahmer lookalike at this point in the road, basically threatening Ezekiel and saying he's Negan? Like, how does that happen? How did we get here?
Well, it's you could, if you want to stretch it a little, there's two things I could say about that. Is that how do we get to the point where you could say that Gunther is probably saying the same thing about all the kingdom people. Like, what are these people doing? They're like worshiping this king, and it's just this interesting parallel. But the other thing, if you want to really extrapolate a little of that concept, is a lot of people from different religions say that about other people from other religions. Like, oh, this is BS. What the heck is this? What are you doing? And so we do that to each other all the time on smaller levels. It's crazy.
No,
so
it is true.
You should learn something from this show. The Walking Dead teaches you how to live with other people.
Teaches you how to survive and live in. I always say all
tolerance,
the time,
people.
Listen, I say that The Walking Dead is one of the most multicultural and multi-denominational shows on television. And you know why? I had a friend that told me the apocalypse does not discriminate, and it's true.
Yeah,
it does not.
It's so fast. Yeah, I did notice that about the show. And you notice it even more when it comes to the fans. You have people calling in from Alabama, Arkansas, states typically not normally on the side of these things, but it's this huge fan base.
Yeah.
It's not just about Southern pride.
No, I mean, it's just everywhere. Like, and internationally too, if you want to take it there. I mean, there's just fans all over, and everybody has, I mean, I don't want to say everybody can relate to the apocalypse. I'm not saying that, but
oh God, I hope not.
I hope not. I sincerely hope not.
But in a way they can, because of the tolerance thing.
Exactly. Yes.
But yeah, it's the South thing. I was just really trying to illustrate the idea that most people probably think, oh, they're all this and that, but then you have all these gay characters and you have people from different ethnicities and just the idea of them working together. I mean, even look at Rick and Daryl, two people that you would probably see on the other side of the street in terms of light and dark.
Yes.
Pre-apocalypse.
Yes.
And here we are. We're like best buds.
Yeah, best buds. And I mean, it's like I said, it's multi-denominational and cultural. I mean, in the kingdom, you see a woman who's obviously Muslim, and obviously we've had Asian characters, we've had Black characters, we have had Hispanic characters. So I appreciate that. I notice those little details.
Good that you did. I feel that much more.
I'm in tune with that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'm in tune with that. Yeah.
I'm in tune with what you're saying.
Yes. I'm very perceptive to that.
Well, and on the heels of that, hello, Jerry.
The whole time that this scene was going on, I'm sitting watching it with my husband, and I'm like, "Where's Jerry? Where's Jerry? Jerry, like,
are you like hitting him while you're saying this? Like,
no, I'm like
Eddie?
tapping him. I'm tapping him. I'm like,
Hey!
where's Jerry? Where is Jerry? Like, he's gonna pop out somewhere. Like, if we don't see Jerry's body, like he's going to pop out of somewhere. And especially because Jerry and Alvaro were the two that in the last episode kind of went off to the side to start killing the saviors that they'd killed before they turned. So since Alvaro came to get Ezekiel before he's killed by this creepy savior, you kind of knew it's like, okay, Jerry's somewhere. When is Jerry coming out? At what point is Jerry coming in to save the day?
Right, because it was in the bodies, right?
But man, that was graphic, dude.
He comes in hard.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, that is disgusting.
I could just see it now. You're like, yeah, oh.
Exactly. I was like, yes. God, that's gross.
Then you're like, Eddie, why'd you make me see that?
You know what I will say, like my tolerance of watching things has greatly improved because of this show. Greatly improved. I am not as a what's the term? I am not as I guess
squeamish?
Particular. Yes, that's the word. I'm not as squeamish. I am definitely not as squeamish. So I did see it, but I was just like, oh God, that was kind of gross. But okay. So
you know what's so funny about that? I can't watch House like doing House the
like
Glory.
medical, yeah. So medical sort of procedures, just kind of. I can't watch that either, though.
I literally have to grab whoever's hand is closest to me, maybe both sides, but like with Walking Dead, it's like and I start laughing, like or like doing like okay, I'm like the dude in the movie theater going, oh, he didn't, and like I start laughing really loud.
Because you know what I think? Oh, you're that guy. Okay.
No, I don't do that, but like I was like that at home in the privacy of my own home.
Yes, and then my privacy of home. Exactly.
Oh, dang, he just did that.
Yeah, that's like me with like Eddie being like, oh God, oh, that's gross. But I mean, I think that medical dramas, like, you know what it is? It's that medical dramas are based, it's reality, it's real, they're operations. So that's kind of like, kind of tough to watch. And probably something like Walking Dead, that it's obviously fiction. So maybe that's part of it. Plus it's like, action mixed with zombie lore, whereas medical operations are, straight up medical operations and procedures.
Yeah, and these zombie shows, they tend to find a way to tone it down. Like I think Kirkman was even saying that the effects for splitting Gunther in two, like they had to zoom in the way they did.
Yes, I saw that.
It'd be way too graphic.
Right. And honestly, I don't think that you needed to show more. I think that you got it. Like you didn't need to see the whole thing. Like you know what happened just from the piece that they showed. And just from that, it was like, like you didn't need to see the whole thing to get the impression of what happened. Less is more. Less is more. But I do think that this episode was probably one of the more graphic episodes that they've had in a long time, because I feel that, I know that they got a lot of pushback about last season because of the way Glenn and Abraham were killed. So I think that I had heard that they specifically were trying to kind of be a little bit more cognizant of the extent of violence. So there hadn't, and I noticed that too, because even some of the murders that they've done, like when Morales was murdered, you don't necessarily see it. You know that it's what happened, but we don't. It's not made a graphic portrayal. Like we don't see exactly what happens, other than that it happened. He killed him, and you see sort of that it occurred. The action occurred, but we don't see the graphic nature of it. Whereas I feel like this episode was very graphic, but I think it was very graphic to make a point. Like I think it wasn't graphic for the sake of being graphic. I think it was graphic to kind of really drive a point home. So
yeah, like Jerry's fury and
right.
Also I think there's a little kind of pandering to what we really want to see. Like we really want to see this Gunther dude get his comeuppance.
Right, exactly. And that's what I mean.
We got a little too much, but kind of like an F you want it, you got it.
Right. That's the thing. That when they like build up some of these like villains the way they do, that it's like, okay, they're prepping this guy for a basically pretty graphic, horrible death. I mean, it's just how it goes. So I knew that was going to happen with this character. I knew Ezekiel was going to get out of this. I was just waiting, like, okay, when is this happening? Something's going to happen. And then, yeah, Jerry came in and just let out all his fury, but still is a sweetheart and takes his Ezekiel's sword. He's still calling him Your Majesty. Still calling him Your Majesty.
He's saying you don't, but then he goes, dude, yes, I do.
and Ezekiel still, like, Ezekiel basically does not feel worthy is what it comes down to. He does not feel worthy of anybody kind of referring to him with this title. He just doesn't feel that he's worthy of this kind of level of respect. He doesn't. And but it's like you were saying before. I mean, Alvaro believed in I mean, all his he had men that jumped on him to protect him, that basically died protecting him. And then Alvaro also died helping him get away. Thank God Jerry didn't die, but Jerry also believes in him. And they basically stand guard to just start fighting off this swarm of zombie kingdom people coming for them. Which brings us to my girl Carol.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I want to save some of the bigger Ezekiel topics for later.
Yes.
Because I got me some.
Yes, I know that you do. You told me, so I'm ready. I'm waiting for my mind to be blown.
Oh, I hope so. I was drunk at the time. Okay.
Sometimes you come up with very excellent, deep philosophical stuff in those.
Thank you.
Just saying.
So yeah. So the one thing, I'll edit that out. Okay. Now. Okay. So first of all, the first thing I noticed was, Carol is killing again.
Carol's back.
Yeah.
I was like, welcome back, Carol. Welcome back.
The water's fine.
The water, exactly. Come on in.
Fine.
The water, it's fine.
Wade in the blood.
I like when she crawled into that vent and just was assassin from above. I was like, see, this is why I love Carol. Brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Survivalist too. Like it just shot them through the ceiling. So that's all at all costs too.
At all costs. But we do get to see these weapons that were used, and we see that they're basically packing them up, and we understand that they're trying to transport these weapons to the sanctuary in order to, I guess, free Negan and I guess anybody who is stuck there from the swarm of zombies that our heroes let in.
Right. Oh yes, that's right. And but I just love the way she does it though.
Yes.
Like the way she does it, it never ceases to impress me how she's able to manipulate people into thinking she's something she's not.
Yes.
Isn't that
she plays that card very well.
Oh God. Yeah. And and who knows when that will run out. And I honestly didn't even think that would work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just given the fact that sometimes our characters will do something like this and all of a sudden it stops working. These people that come back to the same patterns and then all of a sudden find, oops, this is the day that my trick ran out, So it was clever. It worked out well. And, she was able to get the drop on them in the end. They ran out of bullets after a while. And, she really, the mind of a tactician. She really knows her stuff.
She is very cunning. She's very, very cunning. She's very sharp. And she is. And she gets herself in these positions. And sometimes, I'm watching it and I'm like, oh God, how are you going to get out of this, Carol? But she finds a way. She always does. And I do think that she knows how to play her cards right. And I think, quite honestly, it's very deceptive because if you're these big, rough and tumbling, marauder saviors and you see this little, she's not elderly, but she's obviously, skewed on older woman. And and they basically, I think that they underestimate necessarily how dangerous she can be. I think she really preys on that sort of naive nature of them not necessarily taking her seriously as a threat. And then she just kind of, just capitalizes on it basically. So,
it's something that I've thought of. Remember how I said last week, the saviors must think everybody's brutal. And so they react in kind. Mm-hmm. I think I want to amend that. I don't even think it's that anymore because the idea that they wouldn't even hesitate and shoot, gunning her down. They could have gone after whatever remaining kingdom people were left.
Yeah.
They could, it would have been really easy. They had the numbers, they seem to have gotten most of them and they could could have gotten rid of her, but it's this idea that they didn't, they must not think anybody as brutal as they are. And not only that, but add to that it just seems like none of these guys, I guess what you sacrifice in being a savior is the lack of tactics, because
Right.
Negan is the one forming all the plans and maybe some of the head guys like Simon and Gavin and all that.
Right.
Everybody under them must not have any sense of when they're being played or when somebody's rolling up on them in a way that could really like some sort of strategy, some sort of plan of attack. They just don't seem to be prepared. I mean, Gavin's not there, so he can't really direct them on what to do and tell them what to. It's literally that's how it's this weakness from the saviors, that because they're depending on the saviors to protect them and obviously do whatever they want, they really surrender their own mind. They're no longer themselves, as we brought up before. They're Negan.
They are Negan.
So it's this huge sacrifice. Whereas, and I guess now this also comes back to the kingdom. Whereas the kingdom may follow orders from the king, but there's a lot of delegation. There are different groups. They all have a little hierarchy among themselves and people that they respect among their ranks. And they're not surrendering themselves. They have their own identity, their own personality. Ezekiel calls them by first name, all of them.
Yeah.
So it's this whole, there's a respect to it. There's a respect of one's ideas and tactics, and even like Ezekiel seeking counsel from Carol and Rick when they first come to see him.
Yeah.
It's this I seek your counsel sort of thing. It's like, if this was Negan, like I would seek your knee on the floor and my bat against your head.
Pretty much.
Lucille seeks vengeance. She's thirsty. So that's how it's like. It's just so I amend what I say last time. It's not that they're brutal, and it's not that they must think that nobody's as brutal as they are. It's just that they have no sense of individuality and tactic.
Right.
So
it's gang mentality.
Oh gosh, yeah, herd mentality. And how much of a parallel is that to walkers?
You
got where I was going with that.
I see you. I see it.
Big concentric circle, folks.
I see where you're going with this. And I think that's always been kind of like the commentary from Kirkman. Just how different are we from these evil beings that we call walkers? Are we that much better?
Not even evil. Like evil doesn't personify them. They're just they're
monsters.
They're this thing.
These monsters. How different are we from these monsters?
They are what they are.
They are what they are, and humans are what they are too.
Yeah, but it's all these different dimensions, all these different angles from which we can see how we are either no different, but sometimes we are than walkers, than these just automaton creatures, like self-perpetuating things. But then every now and again we do something. We show our difference. So it's a really cool concept, that we've explored, that Kirkman's explored, really.
Yeah, I think so. It's fascinating.
Well, and it's funny, even how the episode was filmed was really cool. We have these, we really kind of go from these two viewpoints, and they kind of meet in the middle. The Carol side of the story, where she's in the actual artillery factory place.
Yes.
Then we have Ezekiel trying to get out, from the field, or get in rather, who knows. And then we meet with them at the gate. Or actually, even before that, where Carol sees Jerry and Ezekiel at the gate.
Yes. She sees them in the distance, and she can see that they're in trouble, that they're fending off.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. No, go right ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. They're fending off from the herd, right?
Yes, but she can see that it's a considerable herd, and that this might be something that they won't be able to handle on their own.
Right. And then there's this moment before the commercial break, I think, where there's this pause. Like, do I go after Jerry and Ezekiel, or do I just take these guys out and prevent them from getting the heavy artillery to the sanctuary?
Right.
And why I want to pick that apart is that if you remember when Carol was at the prison and people started getting sick.
Yes.
Do you remember how she killed and burned up the bodies?
Yeah.
Of those two people, just like that.
Yeah, she felt that it's what had to be done for the greater good.
Right. And we're kind of here now, and yet she decides that people are more worth it. That, give them a fighting chance.
I think
that's what's important in this world.
I think it's very interesting because it definitely shows that, I think that Carol's come full circle and has kind of come to a more reasonable balance of humanity and brutality. She will kill kill as is needed. And she is not trying to deny, and effectively, very effectively. Whereas like a lot of these other people are just basically what I say, just spraying and praying. But she is effective. It's
nice.
It's true. I mean, it's just like infinite ammo, just shooting at like. I mean, it's like more like suppressive fire instead of. I mean, what are you hitting? But I mean, but
cannon
she
fodder,
is
right?
Yes, but yeah, I think that she's found a balance of a brutality that's needed when it's needed, but at the same time understanding that the hope and the hope and the possibilities of life is far more important. So I was happy to see her choose to save Ezekiel and Jerry and help them. So that was encouraging.
Yeah. So that kind of brings up one final question about this, and that's knowing that and all the character analysis that we've been taking from Morgan and Tara and Rick and Daryl and Maggie, would you not say that Carol is probably the best put together person on The Walking Dead right now, oddly enough?
Absolutely. I think that she's come light years, and I think that's part of, well, I mean, she's been, a fixture on the shows, also like, Daryl and Rick from and Morgan from the beginning. But I think that we've seen so much development from her, and just basically a struggle between being this battered housewife and surviving just to survive, and then coming into her own and finding her strength after her daughter Sophia was obviously killed and became a walker. And then just everything that she went through, and she's just evolved, and she got to a peak where she didn't care about anything other than just kind of pure survival, killing anything in her path, and then becoming a pacifist where she didn't want to kill at all, and now just kind of coming to the conclusion that, look, you have to, I mean, what it boils down to is picking and choosing your battles. I mean, nobody's saying that you have to be a one-woman wrecking machine and just killing everything in your path, but when needed, you are able to defend those that need to be defended. And so I think that she definitely is probably the most developed character on the show by far.
Oh, God. I mean, it hadn't occurred to me until we started talking about it, and I started to reflect on previous Squawking Dead episodes, and it really... So would you not say... Here's a follow-up question, Carol. Follow-up gotcha question. Would you not say that the show's about Carol?
Gosh. Oh my God. I'm always trying to figure out what this show is about. I'm always like, who's this show really about? It's not really about Rick, is it? It's about somebody else. Who knows? Maybe. I don't know. That would be very interesting, though. I think it would be very interesting if the show was ultimately about Carol. She is the last survivor. I
have this idea for a segment, Carol. Hear me out. Okay. Who does Carol think the show is about this week?
And every week it changes based on what's going on.
There's like a needle and a meter, and then it just hit like the Wheel of Fortune of who the show's about.
Yes, like a barometer, basically.
Right, exactly. It's like the what is that? The wheel that they spin on The Price is Right. What was it called?
Oh,
that's what it is.
It's the wheel. It's the wheel.
The wheel. Spin that wheel. But that's Wheel of Fortune. We're mixing things up, but still, you get the idea.
Yes, there is a wheel though on Price is Right. It's the one that if you land on a dollar, you get $1,000. Yeah.
Right. And if you keep landing on it, apparently, this viral video, you get more.
Yes, you
up to
do.
3 times or something. I don't know.
So another side tangent. My sister had to go to South by Southwest for an event, and they had a Price is Right, I guess, booth or area, whatever, and they had the wheel set up. And there was like a long, long line of people trying to basically get a turn at the wheel.
Was there any money involved?
I don't think so. There's probably people paying for a photo with the wheel.
Oh, man. There's not even like names of the Walking Dead characters? Come on.
That'd be pretty funny. That's probably in development.
I mean, you're developing it. Actually, I'm developing it. You're just the one who keeps spinning it, which is fun. I think it's fun. It just came about granularly or naturally. Sorry.
It seems fun, like the idea of like the wheel. I don't know.
Let's have the fans spin it.
I know. Like the fans can spin it.
Yeah,
I don't know what the prize is.
Then you riff on it. Yeah. Well, the prize is you riffing on it, and then you have to actually explain. Which you can. I'm sure you can figure out a way to kind of say, "Oh, the show's really about Carl."
That is a possibility, also.
Oh no.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh
That's a
man.
strong one. That's
Oh
up
wait,
there.
well, let me see here. I mean, I don't really want to get into the Rick and Daryl thing as much as I want to. I mean, I just what it
It
really
was
comes
fun.
down to. Yeah,
It was
exactly. It was
basically a
just a bit
fun
of
scene.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it's like when Carol was out there and she's like, "Oh, no, they're not." Like, I don't know if it was Ezekiel or Jerry that said it's like, "Oh, they're getting away with the guns," and I didn't catch it at first watch that you hear the motorcycle and she realizes like, "Oh, no, you're not," and then you see them drive away and you see the motorcycle. I was like, "Yes, here we go." Because I was wondering because when they showed the trailer for this week, they had
Yeah.
shown that scene, and we were well into this episode, and they hadn't shown anything on Rick and Daryl. So I was like, that's interesting. Because I knew that I was like, when exactly is that happening? But then when that happened, I was like, oh, here we go. So I did think that was definitely a fun action scene.
After a heavy,
After a very
heavy episode. Yeah.
heavy emotional, and we're not even at the end of the emotion yet, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it already thus far was a very heavily emotional episode, and then it's like, okay, here comes the Daryl Rick team coming in to just
It's like wrestling, this tag team wrestling moment. But
they are.
Isn't it funny how we had a fight scene in the last episode? This really awesome fight scene, and now we have a car chase scene. Like, what's next?
It was a very cool car chase scene, I gotta say.
Like a fight scene, like planes flying and like people jumping out of planes.
Well, they did say, Norman Reedus did say that Daryl's character is going to be in some sort of big fight or something with another character. So
it's a firefight. They're in old 1942 twin propeller jet planes. That's not a thing, but I just made it up.
What I am wondering though is, and this isn't necessarily a spoiler because we're already past this point, but in the comic, when we had that scene at the end of last season where the Alexandrians basically fought back against the saviors, and then the kingdom jumped in and came to save the day, and the hilltop came in when Negan had Carl and Rick kneeling, and you thought, okay, he's going to kill somebody else. That does actually occur in the comic. That scene does happen. But yes, the kingdom and the hilltop come in to save the day and help. But specifically, the Jesus character jumps in and gets into this epic physical fist fight with Negan. Which
take all my money.
Which has not happened yet, which is why I tell you that I get disappointed because the Jesus character in the comic is pretty kick-ass, but I can't imagine the Jesus character as he stands right now on the show being on that level to be able to have a sort of kind of like, fist fight sort of thing with Negan. But I could see Daryl. That I could see.
Oh, really? Well, because it's more poetic. But I mean, I could totally look, as much as it doesn't make sense at this point. I think that's probably what pisses you off. It doesn't make sense for Jesus to fight Negan.
Right.
It makes more sense for Daryl.
Right. They haven't developed the Jesus character in order for a scene like that to make sense. It would be very out of the blue. It would make a whole lot of sense. Whereas with Daryl, based on the history that he's had with the saviors, and even when they showed last episode him seeing like the handcuffs and dog food, like I mean he has a lot of resentment and a lot of anger towards
naked too.
Right. So he definitely would make a lot more sense if a scene like that happened between Daryl and Negan. So I wonder if that might happen or what, because he did say that he'll have some sort of epic, fight scene, but he didn't divulge more than that.
Well, what I think?
What?
I think that may be so. That fight may happen, but he did mention something else, somewhat of a civil war kind of thing looming. And what I think is that Daryl and Rick.
I have heard that. Something. I've heard about that.
And I heard that? I mean, this is something I thought of, so you heard it from me. It was the one who thought it first.
You thought it first, yes, because I mean,
no,
you are the but I mean,
no, but really, that's true. I thought it myself. So
no, I know it definitely. It's your own original thought, and I completely agree with it. And I think a lot of other people agree with you as well, because we saw last episode Rick clearly being slightly taken aback by how basically Daryl is not hesitating in basically just killing saviors when needed, whether it was Morales, whether it was that guy Todd at the end. He's just not even, no hesitation whatsoever.
Right,
and I think that really kind of does not sit well with Rick, especially since he's starting to kind of understand that there is a line, and you don't necessarily want to cross that line, because these are people too. They're not just monsters. Some of them are, but not all of them.
Yeah. And there's a consequence too. There are things that you may not know about.
Right.
That could happen as a result of your actions. And again, it defeats the purpose. It's like the stuff that we picked apart last time was, if there's any hope for there to be any sort of peace, then we have to kind of draw the line somewhere, somewhere. We can't just start, keep killing indiscriminately and then not stop at some point.
Right.
So, or draw a line at the killing, so.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. That really does actually take us to what befell that creature in the last episode.
Yes.
Or the 2 episodes ago? I'm not sure at this rate. Yeah, 2 episodes ago.
Yes. What befell that creature? We finally found out. So
that foul creature, sorry.
So what was that? That was a stream with like discarded like chemical waste? Was that what that was?
Yeah, toxic chemical waste, basically.
Ugh.
Yeah, and they were just. I think it's what Kirkman said was we like to think, we enjoy thinking of the scenarios of what it would be like to have walkers in sand, walkers in toxic waste, walkers stuck in a drain pipe. All these different scenarios of what they would look like, or how they would move and how they would react. So this is our first look into anything of this nature, and it was really kind of cool. Like their blood was all green or whatever it was, and they're very pale and saggy face, very slow too.
Yes,
slow moving.
Radioactive zombies.
That's a good way to get them.
Yeah, pretty gross, but very, very cool looking. So we see them because Carol and Jerry are trying to get Ezekiel to safety. So especially because he's injured, so he cannot necessarily make it on his own. He needs their help. But he keeps trying to tell them to just leave him. It's almost like a suicide by something, but he feels sort of unworthy, like I said before, unworthy of his like disciples. And I think he obviously feels a tremendous amount of guilt for what happened to those people. So he's just, don't bother helping me. Don't just leave me, which obviously, Carol and Jerry will not do. And then Shiva jumps in.
But wait, but the one thing that to tail on that, it's more than just guilt and remorse. It's the worst kind of survivor's guilt. I mean, the idea that the captain...
You didn't go down with the ship.
Exactly. I was waiting for you.
Yes. I got it.
I made it there. We're in sync. Yeah, and when that happens, it's not only just survivors guilt. Oh, like you're first mate and somehow you survive the sinking ship. It's like the captain. The captain is, I guess, is expected to sink with the ship, go down with the ship. But then when people are looking to you for not only orders but for rulership, that's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of responsibility, let's just say, to be that thing all the time for them. And then this other factor of the flashback, the whole conversation with Carol, which, I just want to do that before we get to the unfortunate RIPs of this episode. Yeah. But yeah, this whole flashback of her and of him and Carol having that conversation about what deciding who you want to be.
Yes.
Any given moment, taking the time out and making decisions, not doing it out of instinct, but to calculate however short a period of time and to decide that's what you want to be and then keep working at that.
Yeah.
That was his moment. But then coming back to that and realizing that even when you decide what you want to be, it doesn't mean that life isn't going to try to derail that. You're going to have to keep making those decisions.
Yes.
So.
I forgot about that, but you're right. That was a very interesting flashback to their conversation. So,
and one more tidbit about that. You have to realize that Ezekiel had made that decision before the apocalypse. Pre-apocalypse made that decision. So technically, Ezekiel was brave before Carol was ever, and then Carol at some point after the apocalypse decided, enough's enough.
Even after the death of Sophia, I would say, it was well into the apocalypse that she decided that she needed to be brave and she needed to adapt. And I think she mentions that. She doesn't mention specifically at one point she did, but that she had to.
Yeah, it took her much longer to make that decision too. So that is something interesting that you really toss around in your brain. That Ezekiel just kept, he made his decision in like a matter of seconds, whereas Carol, it took her probably years, let's say, to be brave, even after all these adversities. Like almost resistant to that change. And like, what was it for, right? Whereas Ezekiel, and that's kind of a credit to Ezekiel. He decided and he stuck with it. No matter what happened, and maybe he didn't suffer as many hardships, along the way, but he got to a point now where the hardships are just too much, and that is a credit to him. And I don't think it's fair that we shit on him.
I don't.
We're still thinking. Well, I mean, in a way, I wouldn't blame you if you did. I mean, watching this episode, you're like, come on, man, snap out of it. Even though it's kind of like you do wonder, why do these people buy into it in a way? Like, in one way, it's kind of frustrating. Like, how long do these people expect to kind of fall in line with this idea, this kingdom idea? But then give him credit. He walks the walk, and he's walked the walk. And it's not only that he gets to do what he gets to do because he shows people by example rather than just telling people what to do. So it's I thought that's just my thoughts on that, because I thought it was a good transition before getting to Shiva, because that's when things really fall apart.
Yes.
So tell me your feelings.
Well, that's when I feel Ezekiel falls apart. I mean, Shiva was his protector, who he has saved twice. We've heard the stories of him saving her and her being loyal to him. And, this is yet another member of the kingdom that basically sacrificed themselves, even though it is, a fake CGI cat. Listen, my heart broke for that fake CGI cat. I could barely watch. And mind you, it was not graphic at all, but it still broke.
They couldn't afford
it. No, they couldn't afford it. No, but my heart broke. And yeah, I mean, this is another heavy loss for him to have to carry on his conscience. And I think that is the case. I mean, they say heavy is the head that wears the crown, but that is the case with him. And his heart is heavy. He's lost his entire kingdom of fighters, and he's lost this beast that basically has been loyal to him and protected him. And now in protecting him, like, she's died as well. I mean, and his reaction too, I think, was very effective to everything that happened. I mean, I think the actor that plays Ezekiel, what's the Peyton? Yes. I mean, he was very, very effective in just the loss that he feels. And when Jerry, and this is where we kind of get to the title of the episode, because it's called Some Guy. You have Jerry and Carol more so Jerry trying to convince him to come with them, and and all this, again with the majesty stuff, and he basically tells them, no, I'm not your king. I'm not anybody's king. I'm not, whatever. I'm just some guy, and
or at least now
now he's completely broken. He's completely broken, and he can't wear that bravado anymore. He can't. He's shattered.
Well, I think the circumstances that led up to that, I mean, it really left him with no choice. The show kept stripping away. I'm going to blame the show. The show kept stripping away at Ezekiel, left and right, losing the kingdom, injured leg, this guy dragging him off. I mean, and then losing almost everybody except for Jerry and Carol. And then to add insult to injury.
No, go right ahead.
Shiva, yeah. That's just that's the insult. That's the cherry on top. It's just how much more. It's like as if how much more was he expected to take before he really broke,
Yeah. And I think that was an excellent scene when they come to the kingdom, the three of them. I thought that was very well framed.
Oh, him walking away like that and then having it keep going is just haunting. I think shows need to do that way more often too. Just
more often.
Just like suspend the note, let it resonate a little longer.
Just leave it there, and like it is very, very effective. I thought that ending scene was it drives it home. I thought it was very effective to see them open these big majestic doors to only the three of them just showing up. I mean, Carol with her weapon, Jerry, obviously like messy from like a battle. His battle axe is gone. All he has is a stick. And Ezekiel, limping from an injury, and everybody else gone. I mean, it was just really, really effective. And Ezekiel just walking away, not even able to kind of even talk to any of his people. I think it was very well done. Like from start to finish, I think it was a very effective episode, and it really kind of drove the point home. So I was pleased.
Yeah, and I think even in those last moments, right before him putting his hand on the kid,
Yes.
obviously the kid had a mother, etc. The one with the flower in her elbow, that kind of her elbow strap, it was elbow pads. Sorry, so
yeah, she had like the flowers, the little flower kind of tucked into her elbow pads.
Right, and yeah, I know it's awful, but even in that moment, he managed to pull it together, and I kept thinking in my mind, if this was me, what would I could have even possibly said? So let's just take it to a bird's eye view of the situation. And this reminded me for some reason a lot about the Civil War. Okay. You had this huge Civil War, the American Civil War, where you had these two sides and they're fighting each other, and it's brutal. It's literally, it's brother against brother, let's just say. And you have these two sides, and obviously, like, even though the North won, the losses that were taken during that battle, the population in the United States, and it taking so many people, so many generations that could have been from us.
Is the Civil War still stand as like the most the war where we what?
No, World War II.
World War II.
I know where you're going with that.
I was
I don't know about relative to population, but I know that World War II took so many lives that it's just bananas. It just But the idea is that even when you win, you lose. This like what did we really win? And a lot of that echoed through the South too. That's the same feeling. After the war, a lot of us were sympathetic to the other because of how many losses we took.
Right.
We all took.
Well, I think that, and this is why I think it was an effective episode. I think it really drove the point of war is hell. I mean, this is war. This is wartime, and this is what happens. You're gonna take an enormous amount of losses, and you're gonna start questioning if it's all worth it. It's gonna be and you're going to start. You're gonna get very introspective, and you're going to wonder, and it's very traumatic. And I think that because he's going through this trauma, and he's trying to deal with the weight of what's happened. But I think it was done very well, and it's done very effectively, and it is done in a way that illustrates this is war. This is what war is like. It is graphic, and it is you're going to lose a lot of people on your side, and you're going to have to carry that with you.
Yeah, it's like you said at the top of the show. It's like the Saving Private Ryan. It's just brutal.
Yeah,
but
brutal.
The point that I was trying to make though with all that is that bird's eye view, this was a success. Like, I mean, regardless of the lives lost, let's put that aside in the corner. Like, if you were looking at this logically, the whole point of the mission was to find these heavy guns and get them, and they were successful in that mission. Now,
correct.
But the cost. It just
but at
comes
what
down
cost?
to the cost. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Now,
exactly.
The cost, I mean, no cost is not because these, as you said, these weapons are on like another level than we're used to.
Right.
So, the cost obviously, so yes, they lost maybe a handful of lives, but it would be genocide to allow these people to have these weapons,
correct.
To use against the kingdom, the hilltop, make them all suffer. So
well, that's when I started wondering, like when they ended up getting the weapons, I thought to myself, I mean, at the risk of being political, I mean, I did kind of think about that. I'm like, okay, well, now you possess these weapons of mass destruction. What are you going to do? Are you going to use this against the saviors? Are you going to just hold on to them in your back pocket? Like, I mean, it's just... It poses an interesting question. Like, now what do we do with these weapons? We have these weapons, or maybe it's not even about using them, but just making sure that they don't have access to these weapons.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the U.S. really marshaling the nations to go to nuclear armistice, like with America as the arbitrator. You get everybody to calm down. You get everybody to start de-escalating the violence, and that's maybe the part of the plan. Like, let's get these things. Let's get these things that threaten to put us all under heel. Let's take them and let's just use it as a means to, hey, can we get a timeout? Can we take a timeout? So I just thought that was a good thing to kind of circle back to. But yeah, even going back to the point though, is that one scene, he manages to scrape together whatever he has left, whatever loss he's experienced, with complete dignity, silence, no comments, no words. He said the exact right. He did the exact right thing. You know, he showed himself. He showed how bad it was. He offered his presence and his love to the boy, and just kept moving on. Said
And just
nothing.
moving on. Said
There's
nothing.
nothing you can say in that moment.
No,
You're
no.
like, oh, we at least we got the guns.
But
Yeah,
no,
go us,
there's
team
nothing.
us.
And Ezekiel's very aware of that. He is very aware. Whereas I think that, Rick now is a little bit more conscious of humanity and a little bit more aware. But, when Rick is on a tear, I mean, he's just focused on the mission at hand, where I think that Ezekiel is understanding of these people aren't just collateral damage. Yes, we killed all these saviors and we got these weapons, but these people weren't just negligible collateral damage that are, negligible as well. They're not. So
Right. Their strength is their mutual love of each other, between him and the kingdom to him. So
yes.
knowing that, it's just the most appropriate response. And that's what I liked about the scene. It said a lot. It said a lot of things about what he's lost, obviously, but the kingdom doesn't really know what he's lost. I mean, kingdom is the kingdom. They love him regardless. And I think all the while, Jerry and Alvaro and all those people, and even Carol, not giving up on him and saying, "We're not leaving you." Like, dude, yes, I do have to call you king. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that the kingdom is really going to continue to revere him. Maybe some will leave. So. We don't know, but at the same time, I think the rest may even love him even more for fighting by their side. I mean, looking at him the way that they did, and I think there's something to it. We don't know. I mean, I'm glad that we left it off this way so we can take a break from all that heaviness. But at the same time, it leaves off on a note where I'm okay with finding out what happens next. I don't need to know or theorize about it. It's what will be is what will be.
I think it left it at a very good note.
Yeah.
And it does leave it there hanging for us to just sort of think, well, what now? Now, what? I mean, effectively, his entire army of people were murdered. And I don't necessarily know. I mean, I kind of assumed that this was, and based on what I remember seeing in previous episodes, this was all their fighters. So at this point, it seems that the kingdom is pretty much kind of vulnerable. All of their fighters are effectively killed. My personal feeling is that this is where we're going to start to see either the garbage people or the Oceanside people start coming in, because we've experienced a lot of losses, and these groups are out there. So we know they're gonna bring them out at some point. We are gonna see the garbage people at some point. I feel like we're definitely gonna see the Oceanside at some point. So
yeah, I'm wanting that, definitely. I just don't know if it's gonna happen this season, or at least this half of the season. That would be something I'd bet on as either in the mid-season finale or like the episode before. Like I just knew that the Negan Gabriel scene in the trailer was gonna be like right after this 4-episode tear, because they have to circle back to it. This is all happening at the same time, so they're going to show what happened in that 4-episode span, maybe in the span of 1 episode, but maybe draw it out for 2. I hope not, because that's an awful long time to be.
No, that's too long. In a trailer. Yeah, 2 episodes just feels that it would be too long. I think 1 episode, that's all you need.
Yeah.
I don't think you need any more than that.
And hopefully flipping back and forth between other people, at the same time. This isn't a Twilight Zone episode after all. So
right. It doesn't need to be a singular focus. We can switch over to what's happening elsewhere. And I feel like they should switch over to what's happening elsewhere too, just for the sense of time, to understand where we are, and what's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we've been moving through these episodes, but as far as we know, Gabriel and Negan are still in that trailer.
Yeah, no, and they probably are. Well, we don't know. But I will say that the first 4 episodes seem to happen in the span of a short period of time. If you really take the moment to pick it apart, could even be within the span of, let's say, 4 hours. So
yeah,
it's perfectly
it could very well be.
Yeah, I mean, like 4 hours in a trailer, that's plausible, and they could cover that in the span of 1 episode. So yeah, just look, now I'm on the same page as you. Cannot wait for that. I cannot wait. I was happy with these 4 episodes, fast-paced and everything, but I'm ready. I'm ready. This is my chocolate. It's like I said, it's like my little peanut butter cup treat. Exactly. I'm ready for it. Yeah, I've had my fill.
I've had my fill. I'm ready to get some backstory, but I don't want to get my hopes up because I'm afraid of being disappointed.
Yeah.
So I'm going into it with an open mind.
Oh yeah, you're finally like you were eager for the Negan Gabriel thing for 4 episodes.
And now I'm
ready to receive
now I'm
it.
super weary.
Oh,
I'm
you like
super
don't
wary.
want it now?
No, I do, but I'm so worried that it's not going to. It won't reach the expectations that I have in my mind. So I'm
Well,
trying
maybe you're
to.
actually ready for it, given that, like you're ready to actually receive it. Like, okay, no, I'm not going to give it to it just that you want it too badly. You're going to gobble it up too fast and tear it apart. It's like, no, 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 no. Here it is. Here it is. No, I drive this bus. No, you don't drag me. I'm your master. Here's your leash. That's that sort of relationship that The Walking Dead has with you. Like, no, stop
It
it.
is very complex. It is a very complex relationship.
Hits you with a newspaper.
I know. Oh, it's a painful sort of love.
It's very abusive.
It's very abusive. An abusive kind of love.
Oh, I'm gonna pause like right now just to look at my notes because I'm like, should I go for some of these? We kind of cover a little bit. Like,
I think that I was pleased. I was definitely pleased with this episode. It definitely recentered me, and I'm very eager to see what the rest of the season has. But it looks like we are going to go to Negan and the trailer, but it does seem like we'll see a little bit of discussion among the ranks of the Savior's lieutenants.
That's
it seems
right.
like
The
they're
power
aware.
vacuum I talked about.
Yes, it seems like they realize that there's a mole, and they're trying to figure out who is feeding the information.
But there's also that idea that Negan's not there. What are they? What capacity do they have to actually lead amongst themselves? And that's the thing that really it's just like, give it to me already. Like that's my Negan Gabriel thing.
I think it's intriguing.
So, I kind of want to see them fall apart, and turn on each other.
Yeah, and they
even though it's looking like Dwight, but I want to see if there's some sort of, because it may seem like Dwight's gonna get picked on in this instance, but it's kind of like what you said. Gavin could easily be, the kind of guy that, like, oh, did you strike a deal with them? You have no backbone, so
yeah, exactly. No, I thought about that. I speculated on that too. I thought to myself, Gavin is more forgiving than other saviors. They could completely think that it was Gavin that's been feeding information to Rick and his team.
Right. Just as easily.
So just as easily. It would be just as easily believable. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic is. Interrogation all led by Stephen Ogg Simon.
Which I've been wanting. Like we've seen Jared, and I did want to see. We haven't seen Simon in even less episodes than Negan, I guess. Like we really have a scene in this episode. Like you see him, but you really don't hear him, which is kind of why you would want to see Simon.
Right. You want to hear some of those lines. He is rather funny. So
there's a highbrow topic that I'll just touch on it, but something that I noticed was that Ezekiel has this weird idea. The idea of the kingdom in a ways is a lot like the walls of Alexandria when Rick and crew meet the Alexandrians. The idea that it protects you from the outside world.
Right.
If you think about it, like if we think up this fantasy kingdom in your mind, it creates this false sense of safety, right? Even though they're doing all these things like being soldiers and farming and doing all these things to kind of stay alive, survive, have some sort of force to defend them. So I wanted to pick your brain about that just a sec. And then there's like another thing I wanted to talk about on the heels of that, like why it's different. But have you thought about that? Like this mental Alexandrian wall that they've created for themselves?
I could see that. I mean, I can see the correlation. I can't say I had thought about it, but I could see the correlation between that. You're getting deep.
It does. Yeah, it does protect them. It's this weird false sense of safety. And they have every right to think that they'd be okay because of all the training and all that stuff. But probably initially, it's probably all they had. Let's just fake it till we make it. That sort of thing. Even though they're probably buying in, or some of them at least are. But it does pull them through. But the one thing that, well, not the one, but it's several. But the one key thing is that whatever it is that they're adopting, it's just a whole lot more effective than Alexandria potentially, because what the Alexandrians lack in fighters, they make up with this fearlessness. Like because they adopt this particular delusion, you notice that. I mean, they jump on the king. Alvaro fearlessly just takes Ezekiel through the field, and Jerry's just splitting Gunther in half, and so much fury and even R.I.P. his axe, in the process of trying to
Yes.
break open that gate. Just
I
fearless.
know. I know. That's always something when you have a character losing their weapon of choice.
Yeah. Oh, their totem.
Yeah. And for him that was pretty distinctive. I mean, a battle axe. I mean, that was
I mean, Ezekiel loses his Shiva. Jerry loses his axe. What's next with Rick? His hat? Wait, hold on. That Carl has that.
Carl has
Anyway,
it.
but yeah,
Carl's
I just thought that
holding
was
on.
an interesting thing to pick apart because it's these little parallels and who does it better, and
Yeah.
how everybody is kind of doing it the same way. Like the saviors have this cult-like mentality and this false sense of safety because of, if we surrender ourselves to Negan, we'll be saved. Let's put it that way.
Right.
We'll be saved and be useful. Like, oh, we'll pretend like we have a use in this community.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, just like we said in this episode, the drawback to that is surrendering your will is to really not have a sense of taking charge, not have strategy. And that really is their downfall. Like, yeah, it makes for effective fighters when somebody tells them what to do. But at the end of the day, it's just all about, just following orders and not being anything.
Yeah, that is very, very true.
Who does it better? Oh, so the only thing that I was thinking, I don't know if I want, I was drawing parallels between Shiva and Lucille, the bat.
Well, I could see that though. I mean, Shiva is basically his I mean, kind of like live weapon and a symbol of power and his strength.
Yeah.
Almost like his royal's sepulcher. Sepulcher?
Scepter?
How do you say that? Scepter. There you go. Yes.
To hit him over the head with.
Yeah. What is the point of that?
The scepter? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't even know. What do you do with it?
They took mine away a long time ago. Mental hospital. It's the whole thing. It's a toilet paper roll, really. Just sometimes I would just go and it's a scepter.
That would have been sad.
Well,
sad.
You didn't know me back then. Nobody did.
Nobody knew you back then at that point.
No. Who am I? Negan. Anyway. Oh, one other thing that I thought of, and this is this idea when they were talking about deciding who he wanted to be, Ezekiel, right?
Yes.
And saving Shiva, there's just a little bit of this personality transfer going on. Like what we could consider as being reckless and, reckless, headstrong, going in strong, being brutal, taking everything that's yours, this selfishness and this brutality and rage and berserker kind of behavior. I feel like Ezekiel, he takes all of those ideas, he makes up this character, and then Shiva is this embodiment of going in headstrong, being tough, tearing things apart, running around the room, wrecking it,
Yes.
So there's this interesting reflection of, like this transfer of power into Shiva, and then Ezekiel can become this balanced, regal, lawful, benevolent, thoughtful, tactician type character.
Right.
Very, very well thought out, takes every step carefully, has it all kind of figured out if you really think about it. And to his credit, it's worked for so long. So it's interesting to see how Shiva rushed in and it doesn't know zombies from anything and numbers and tactics.
Right.
And how this is too much for it, So
Right.
it doesn't have like that level of consciousness. So, but then to lose that, what will that mean for Ezekiel?
That is a very good question.
Does he lose his sense of? Does he lose all the advantages he has as a result of setting aside those ideas, the headstrongness, the brashness? So it may be interesting to see how he develops after that. Which again, I'm open to. I'm ready to see that unfold. I don't have any. I'm not anxious about it. What's done is done. And sadness all around. But I'm ready. Definitely ready. Are you still there?
Yes,
Oh,
I am.
okay, there you are.
Yes, I am. I am right here. I'm sorry. My mic got slightly muted for a second, and I had a little technical difficulties. My bad.
Just went into my beer. Yeah.
Sorry.
Same
Sorry
old
about
story
that.
with you, Carol. Can't stay away from the booze.
One time.
I mean, I'm not booze shaming, but
No.
I'm booze shaming.
Not shaming, but I'm just saying.
I'm shaming. So, I think we can call it a day from here, unless you have anything else.
I think we did a pretty good cover. I'm just very, very excited to see what's coming. Very excited to see where we go with the Negan character next episode. I'm very curious to see if any dissension in the ranks among the saviors and his lieutenants, as he calls them, his lieutenants.
That's right.
And yeah, they're lieutenants. It's interesting. And I'm really curious to see how Ezekiel recovers from this. Or where does he go from here?
Oh, I don't think we'll see that for a while. I mean,
I
what
don't
I
think
want
so
to,
either.
yeah, what I want to see is what they're going to do with the saviors of the hilltop too, which may not also happen, but who knows?
Yeah, we have to go back to that, especially because Jared, who is from Gavin's outpost, is there. And as far as I'm concerned, they're prepping Jared to be mercilessly murdered. So I'm fairly confident of that.
Oh yeah, and not only that, I think we may not see Morgan until at least mid-season, if I'm thinking correctly. I mean, I think he's kind of done for a little while, kind of like Carol.
Morgan's
he needs a
hanging out in
Carol
the woods.
moment.
He needs a timeout.
Go to the shed.
He's gonna go to the shed. He's gonna find the shed and he's gonna hang out there.
He's gonna create a cage.
He's gonna collect his thoughts before rejoining civilization again.
Right. He's gonna build a little cage in it. Put himself in it.
Ah, Morgan.
Yeah, I feel for him.
I do. He's conflicted and he needs to take a moment and that's fine. So he's taking his moment. But he's got to come back though.
Yeah.
He's got to contribute to the cause.
I don't know. My feeling, and I feel like this is worth weighing in on, is that we're not going to see or hear from him. Kind of like what was his name, Keith?
Heath. Yes,
right.
Yes, Heath. Keith is coming back. I'm just not sure when Keith is coming back, but he'll be back.
Maybe with Oceanside.
Maybe. I mean, he was definitely picked up by some group, something. He's out there. Heath is out there somewhere. They will find him.
That would be nice. That would be a nice wrapped in a bow kind of thing to see Oceanside come in with Heath.
Yes,
I think.
we have several groups that we need to see. We need to see the garbage people. We need to see the Oceanside. Heath, where are you at? So yes.
So more good things to come. And
yes.
I think with that, we can safely say thanks everybody for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/squawkingdead, Twitter at twitter.com/squawking_dead, and soundcloud.com, which you're listening to right now. iTunes now, search for Squawking Dead, and that pretty much covers it. You can also reach us via email at squawkingdead@gmail.com. And with that, everybody, have a great week. Listen to us every week, please. Your mom does and your girlfriend does, apparently. But
iTunes now, hello. I mean,
that's a big deal.
Big deal. That's
Apple loves us.
Yes. Oh, I feel so loved.
We'll squawk on everybody, and we'll catch you in the next week.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.